I have a lot of thoughts about Thor Love and Thunder, but let me just start off by saying the film's biggest failure is that at no point do Chris Hemsworth and Natalie Portman yell, "It's hammer time." I'm, what are we doing here? What are we doing? Hi, my name is Ben Friedman, and you are watching the Beniverse, and today we are talking Thor Love and Thunder right after this. Thank you for tuning in. Alright, so Thor Love and Thunder. This is the 29th installment within the MCU. This is the second film directed by Taika Waititi, who previously directed Thor Ragnarok. It is a direct sequel to Thor Ragnarok. It is a direct sequel to Avengers Infinity War and Endgame, and continues the arc of where we last left Thor. In the previous films, Thor has lost everything. His mother, his father, his brother, his kingdom, and now Thor is grappling with the realization that he has no one in his life, and it makes him nostalgic for the time that he was with Jane Foster. And this causes Thor to fall into a slump. His life feels empty without anyone caring for him. And on the flip side, you have Jane Foster returning from the first two Thor films. In this film, Jane Foster has cancer, and she is able to utilize the powers of the hammer, Mjolnir, to essentially give her the powers of Thor. So this film follows Thor and Jane Foster together, battling a mysterious villain known as Gorr the God Butcher, played by Christian Bale. And I already mentioned that this film is directed by Taika Waititi. And if you haven't watched the podcast for this week where we talk Thor Ragnarok, I'll just spoil it for you. I said Thor Ragnarok is my favorite MCU installment. I think the comedy is great. I think the action is amazing. I think the visuals are beautiful. I think the direction is all perfect. And I think it's just a perfect story for Thor that is able to ground him in humanity and make light of him, but never treats him like a joke, and is able to give him a quite emotionally moving arc. And when I heard Taika was coming back to direct Thor Love and Thunder, and that Jane Foster was returning and they were going to do the Mighty Thor turn, I was pretty excited for this movie. I will totally admit, I think this was like my third most anticipated film of the year, and it's going to pain me to say what I'm about to say. I didn't love Thor Love and Thunder. It's not that it's bad, but I also wouldn't call it good. There are moments of greatness within the film, but they are undercut by the comedy. And this part's going to really pain me to say it. The film's biggest issue is the comedy. I've been feeling the fatigue of the MCU and superhero projects in general. So when I heard that this film was very comedic, I got more excited, less as a fan of superhero and comic book franchises, but as a huge fan of Taika Waititi. He's one of my favorite directors working. And so when I was sitting there today watching it, I'm like, you know what? The best part about this is that I get to see the newest Taika film. And that got me pretty excited. But the issue was when I'm watching it, I didn't think the comedy was particularly great. Now, that doesn't mean that there aren't great jokes in this film. There are a few jokes in this film that are crazy funny. And it's not that this film is devoid of comedic sensibilities, but it's just that it overutilizes it and overstays its welcome. Characters like Korg, who I found great in the previous installments, he's just a gimmick in this film. And I found Korg really annoying in this film. He undercuts every joke in it. And I think Taika's really funny. But again, the issue with these jokes, if you're going to do a joke that undercuts the drama within the film, you need to make sure the joke's really good to make that payoff worth it. The problem is the jokes aren't that great in a lot of these scenes. Like I said, I might have chuckled at them, but had they just kept with the dramatic element within that scene, I would have preferred that scene. So they're taking away that drama and adding comedy that just didn't need to be there and honestly would have been stronger without it. Had this film just played it straight as a drama, I think I really would have enjoyed this film a lot more. Again, not to say that the film doesn't have its comedy. It's just that it doesn't blend well. And the reason it doesn't blend well is because there's a tonal shift within the movie that happens about an hour in. This is only a 2-hour film. For the first half, we're on just a full-on comedy. It's joke after joke. There's no serious stakes. Nothing feels real. Everything feels light. It's definitely very cheesy. There is like a direct, almost like nod to how cheesy that they're making this film in this first action scene that Thor has. It's just so over the top. The slow-mo's ridiculous. It's almost Taika winking at the audience like, yeah, we know this is ridiculous. And the thing is, that tone doesn't stay throughout the film. Now, I'm glad that tone didn't stay because it wasn't particularly working for me. But then, like I said, there's this scene where I'll say there is a tonal shift scene that happens when we get closer to the antagonist of this film, and you can literally feel the film get darker. And that part of the film on is incredible. Christian Bale steals this movie, just absolutely is amazing in Thor Love and Thunder as Gorr the God Butcher. Every scene he is on is scary. And I'm not talking about when we say words like, oh yeah, this is the best MCU villain. Like, no, it is chilling how good Christian Bale is in this movie. This film needed more of him, and that needed more of this tone, and everything with him worked. There's this one scene where won't spoil it, but Gorr the God Butcher is on a boat, and that's all I'll say about that scene. But when you watch the scene, you'll know exactly it is because of the intensity, just the creepiness of the scene. It's so aesthetically beautiful. Everything with Christian Bale works, and I wish Taika utilized Bale more in this film. I am not saying Thor Love and Thunder is a bad film. I'm going to expect the majority of audiences that watch this are going to quite enjoy this film. There is definitely a lot to be enjoyed in this film, but it so undercuts any form of stakes that this has, especially in the first half of the runtime. There was just so much more that this film could have been, and that was the issue. I felt the potential. There's a really good story within Thor Love and Thunder that really gets to explore Jane Foster and Thor's relationship. It really gets to explore this interesting thing going on with Gorr the God Butcher and his philosophy for hating gods. It gets to show how power corrupts, all of these elements, but it just never comes together. There are some unforeseen issues that I also had with Thor Love and Thunder, which I'm not going to say are particularly the fault of the director or any of the cast, but this film was shot during COVID, and you can feel it. There's a lot of scenes where characters, and I'll use my King's Ballhead to demonstrate, where characters talking, and you just see the back of the character as Chris Hemsworth's talking to Natalie Portman, and then they'll flip the scene. And now you have this guy with my head to the back of the screen because they're just not on camera together. And it's probably due to COVID protocols. It could be due to the MCU being cheap and not wanting to fly those actors out at the same time and not have them on set forever. Whatever it may be, like I said, there's a lot of those scenes, especially in dialogue moments, where you can just feel that the two actors are not on screen together. And one last thing that I really want to just talk about, I mentioned how I'm getting fatigue of superhero films. The MCU is really starting to push it. I'm a huge MCU fan. I love all the movies for the most part. I see all of them. I have fun with the shows, all of it. There's been something going on post Endgame where the style and aesthetic feel is starting to feel really worn out. These films are all starting to look the same. Honestly, the effects in Thor Love and Thunder look the same as they did in Doctor Strange, as they did in scenes of Shang-Chi, as they did in Eternals, as they did in Black Widow, as they did in Avengers Endgame, as they did in Infinity War, two on. And that was pretty disappointing because I think Thor Ragnarok, the previous film, is beautiful to look at. In this film, I just found it a lot of green screen and CGI, and I was not vibing with it at all. I thought it looked like fake. Nothing felt real to me, and everything then it took away from the weight of said film, where I'm just like, where are the stakes? Because there's no atmosphere or no real ground to stand on. it just makes everything feel a little floaty. And like I said, it makes everything feel fake. And that was another huge disappointment. I was hoping that even if I did not love this film, that it was still going to carry over a lot of the same style, look, and feel of Thor Ragnarok. It does to a degree, but it's not all there, and it feels very disjointed. The script is a mess at times. It has just, again, weird pacing issues. The fact that this film is a comedy for the first hour, and then around an hour and 15, the second half of the film, it just has to come on and be the fact that this film is a full-on comedy for the first half of it, and then the second half is just a drama with very little comedy, very little sense of humor, and it's just so much darker and grittier than the first half. It just feels tonally, it doesn't mesh well together. And I just wish that either the humor was spread out, I wish they cut a little bit of it, I wish the humor was at least tighter so I had something to hold on to. But ultimately what I'm left with is a film that I thought was fine. I don't hate this film. I'm going to probably check it out again this weekend. I want to see some certain elements of it. And again, I think the final hour, 45 minutes to an hour are really good. It didn't fully connect with me as much as I really wanted it to. And I found this film to be a bit of a disappointment. It's a huge bummer. Like I said, I'm the biggest Taika fan. I've been the biggest Thor fan. I'm a big superhero fan. And the fact that it never really clicked to me, despite there being amazing elements. Again, go see the movie just for basically the last hour. I guarantee you're going to like that last hour. But besides that, I'm going to give it 2.5 out of 4 stars, which is the definition of I'm giving it a positive review, but it's okay. And I'll be honest, if it wasn't for that last hour of the film, I'd be at 1.5, maybe graciously 2 stars, but it just didn't fully connect with me. Like I said, I'm hoping that when I see it again this weekend, that some of the comedy is going to work better for me now that I know it's coming. I'm hoping the story is going to make a little bit more sense and sit better with me. Again, now that I know it's coming. I also had a weird screening where there was a bunch of people talking. I was in the first row, so I wasn't necessarily in the greatest mood. So I want to give this film a chance, and there's enough in this film that I like. And again, I really want to see the last hour of this film again. It's visually really interesting, and the way they shape the characters really works. It's just a slog to get there. And that's my review of Thor Love and Thunder. Like I said, disappointed, but what can I say? Anyway, if you like this review, do not forget to like and subscribe. I've seen that my review of RRR now has over 1,000 views. Thank you so much for that. I am so grateful. Thank you for just the support. And yeah, if you can continue supporting me, I really feel it. I really am thankful for it, guys. I'm Ben Friedman here from the Beniverse. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening to my thoughts on Thor, Love and Thunder. I might do a spoiler review next week. I'm talking about it. But anyway, thank you for watching. Take care. Bye.